I have with me in the studio Amaiten Etuk, who is a legal practitioner, and I also have Emmanuel Inyang, who's a public affairs analyst, to help us understand these issues. And to you, let's talk about these issues. Why do we have this dispute of this time, since we've had the 2010 Electoral Act that prescribed 3 years, and then this new one that prescribes 4 years? But the election for this new set of councillors and chairmen was conducted using the 2010 Act, but the former council chairman, who are supposed to have left, are saying that they should enjoy the 4-year tenure of the new act.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Well, the background to the current legal and political crisis, albeit very unfortunate and selfishly invented, is a provision in the new Electoral Act 2020, which extended the tenure of, which in March extended the tenure of future FCT Council from 3 years to 4 years. And it's an elementary principle in law. I mean, it's taught in Law 101 in legal system in 100 level, that a law does not have a retrospective effect, and the court will not interpret a law as having a retrospective interpretation, except that law's retrospective application is ambiguously provided. Well, if the draftsman, the National Assembly, had intended the outgone chairmen who have gone to court and are beneficiaries of this unfortunate legal outcome, if the National Assembly had intended them intended for them to have their tenures extended from 3 years to 4 years, it would have, the National Assembly would have clearly stated so. But then they couldn't have even done such a thing in this case, because politically it will amount to shifting the goalpost, like changing the rules in the middle of the game. So approaching the courts, it's quite uncharitable, unfortunate. It's a travesty of the rule of law, okay, as we will have it.
All right, and I come to you. What has led to this protest, and why did people actually think that by going to the streets and then going to the FCT minister's office, it could help him to, or make him to change his decision to actually obey the court order? Because, I mean, this is a court order.
Yes, I want to thank you for having me here. First and foremost, the action itself by extending the tenure of the outgoing chairman is an aberration. And why do I say so? These personalities were sworn in for the period of 3 years. They swore to an oath and were all in office for the period of 3 years. And election timetable was released. Based on the release of election timetable, all the political parties future out candidates for the election. An election have taken place. Certificate of return has been issued to all these people who won, and they were set for inauguration on the 20th. Unfortunately, the court pronouncement came up, and now the Honorable Minister, in his own wisdom, who strongly believed that FCDA, the Ministry of Federal Capital Territory, was a creation of law, and as such have to also respect whatever come out from the law, and the pronouncement that was made by the judge went ahead to say that they cannot go ahead with the inauguration until such orders are vacated and all of that, and pleaded with those who came to the area FCDA to protest. What the minister did was very correct, because like I earlier said, the minister has to respect rules of law, and also knowing full well that the existence of the Federal Capital Territory was as a result of law. As such, whatever comes out from the law court must be respected, and that was exactly what he did. But then he has gone further, and what is the further? To ensure that that order is being vacated, and has approached the law court for that to be done. So for me, what he did was in good faith, and the people who came also there to protest also accepted that in good faith, and that was why when the permanent secretary who represented the minister spoke to them, they all accepted it and went home believing that the Honorable Minister, through his legal team, would approach the court to ensure that the needfuls are done.
Now, do you have confidence that this court order will be vacated? What would you say about the people who are enjoying this term now that has been extended? Do we say that this is a tenure elongation through the back door? And why do you think politically people don't want to leave their seats after you said they swore that they will stay for 3 years?
Yes, like I earlier said, if you go around all the 6 area councils right now, you meet policemen at the gates of all the 6 area councils. Why are they there? They are there to forestall a break of law and order that may arise. The area council chairmen who seek for elongation cannot even go to the office as I speak to you.
Oh, interesting.
As I speak to you, they cannot. The fear of unknown is already there. Nigerians who voted for the present people, both the APC and the PDP, who are expecting that whosoever they voted for will assume office, are already waiting to see that happen. So as I speak with you, as it is today, we are strongly believing that law is meant for men. And considering the security situation in Nigeria as it is, none of us will pray for one to happen in the Federal Capital Territory.
Okay, and I want to ask you if indeed some of the actions taken by the new council chairman in Abuja may be deemed illegal later on, if indeed the courts take all these issues and look at them and then pass judgment. What would you advise as a legal practitioner for those who have had their tenure extended, but which is, you know, still subject to controversy? What will you advise them to do? Because it's confusing.
Well, the relevant point here is that the outgone chairman took their oath of office under the 2010 Electoral Act, right? And the 2022 Electoral Act did not have them in contemplation. It's for future chairmen who will be inaugurated under this new electoral regime. It's unfortunate that the average Nigerian or the average black politician seems to delight in, you know, complicating the simplest provisions of the law, trying to look for loopholes to exploit to his advantage. But fortunately, there is no loophole to be exploited here. The law is clear. What the law says is that future chairman who will be inaugurated for the FCT area council should stay for 4 years. It's
and those who have won elections and are waiting swearing in, what would be the advice to them as a legal practitioner? Well,
they cannot take the laws into their hands. Matters already before the court. It's sub judice. It's although it's there are certain issues surrounding whether the court had jurisdiction in the first place.
Yeah, that's why we didn't go into it. We are looking at the Electoral Act amendment, the Electoral Act itself, and not it, because those issues for court are there in the court to be decided by the court. Okay. But I'm just saying now that having this confusion of whether it's 3 years or 4 years has created a scenario. And we have people who were elected, given certificate of return, just walking around the streets. What do they do? And there are some people who are there, and you know, it looks confusing.
They will stay calm, and then whenever they take their oath of office, they will stay for 4 years, as clearly stated in the law. They have to stay calm.
Okay, and what would you be advising the FCT authorities to do? You have said that they took the right decision because there was a court order, but there are some people who have also read political meaning saying that the All Progressives Congress may just want to have this chairman stay in place up until the general elections are over and all of that. Do you read any political meanings to all of these actions?
Well, let me digress a little. Like the legal practitioner have just said, that the Electoral Act of 2022 has given opportunity for those who have been elected to be in office for 4 years. Part of that Electoral Act says that henceforth, that statement henceforth means it's for the people who are coming thereafter, not the present. Meaning that those who are coming thereafter, after the Electoral Act has been signed into law, will enjoy this, and not for those who have already been sworn in for the period of time and towards the end of their to stay in office for 3 years, they are now demanding for...
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing the PDP was saying. Just quickly before we round off, you saw the PDP National Secretariat actually saying in a press statement that they condemn this, that it looks like the APC is trying to come back to government through the back door.
Yes, let me also mention that it is very glaring that as it is now, people are bound to feel otherwise, considering the situation politically that we all find ourselves today. The APC there, the PDP here. Presently, as it is now, it is expected that the area council should have somebody to administer, which is the executive chairman-elect. And we are having a situation where there is no direction. And as far as there is no direction, people are bound to start thinking otherwise. So for us, we are believing that the only option left now is for the law, which is through the court, to take its due course, so that at the end of it all, pronouncement from the court will be able to solve this problem.
All right, we must thank you so much, Emmanuel Inyang, who's a public affairs analyst, and you participated in the campaigns for one of the aspirants who is now a chairman-elect, Christopher Mekalango. We must thank you so much for being on the show, and of course, a legal practitioner, Amaitem Etuk, who has been here to enlighten us on all that's going on. We must thank you so much, and we wish that the peace of the FCT remains, so that we don't have the security issue like it happened last week, where there were protests and then lockdown of several streets in the nation's capital. We must thank you for being on the show. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Somna Sambo.